the reality is, even though we have millions of people here, 3.5 million people in Utah, it's still a small state. And when you have an event like this, where 3,000 people were in attendance, it's inevitable that virtually everybody knows someone who was there. Like I mentioned, I have close family members who are there and are processing what happened. And so I think it's important that we remember this, and we use this now as an opportunity really to come together. And you've seen vigils, you've seen people treat each other with respect, try to understand what has taken place, what should take place, how we can make this better, because this is one of those moments when the true leaders in our country will use it to bring us together and to unite us. And there will be those who use this as an opportunity to self-promote and divide us. And hopefully we ignore those people and we look at those who would use this as an opportunity to make us better, to help us heal, and to really model what it is that Charlie Kirk spent his life doing. Now, I believe it's the job of the people who are watching, those of us in the community, to learn how to cope with what's happened, to learn how to heal. I have people close to me in my own family and on my own staff even, who were part of the experience. They were there, they saw it happen. And so I think it's important for us to process the trauma and the experience and to understand what it is, and ideally to use it to bring us together. And I think that this morning we saw the governor of Utah, Governor Cox, in his sort of off-the-cuff remarks, talk about how we should use this to unify. And really, I think that showcased the best that we have to offer as a state. First of all, I think the moment means, and it's an opportunity to reflect on Charlie Kirk's life and what he did, because ultimately it's ironic that what he did wasn't that big of a deal. All he did was go to people in places that disagree with him, notably college campuses, and just say, prove me wrong. And he engaged in a productive, respectful dialogue, and he showed a model for how to engage productively with people that you might disagree with. And so I think it's not just ironic, but maybe fitting that when his life came to an end, it was doing the very thing that he had done. He was modeling the very behavior that he encouraged people to do. And so hopefully we can use that as an opportunity to remember him and to model behavior that's similar. Within about an hour and a half after this took place, I was on the phone with our governor. He had spoken with the President of the United States. And in situations like this, there's generally a question about who's in charge, who's going to do what. It was really clear from the very first moment that everyone was on the same team, everyone was working together, and it was agreed right up front that we will work together, we will co-lead, we will share resources, and that we'll basically be one team. And we're going to leave our egos at the door, and we're just going to make sure that the right thing happens. So the reality is it will be a combination of state and federal moving forward. What we're doing right now is working together with the different law enforcement agencies, both our counties, like the County Attorney Jeff Gray, as well as up to and including the FBI and the United States Department of Justice. My job as Attorney General is to collaborate, coordinate, and to provide those sort of resources that we need to get the job done. But those charging documents with information pertinent to that will be available and filed in the next day or two. He has been in custody a very short period of time, and so he's currently going to, in the process of having statements taken, but we don't know what those look like, and we're working with law enforcement at different levels to make sure that we get all the information that we can get, because there's a lot of information we need to bring the right charges. And so the charges are a function of both state law and also federal law. And so what we'll do is we will work together with federal agencies and federal law enforcement to make sure that ultimately that he pays the price for what he's done. And if that's state law, if that's federal law, if that's a combination of both, we'll make sure that justice is served in this case. I'd say the most important thing that people can do in addition to being unified and coming together is to make sure that the information that you hear and that you look at is not just productive, because there's those out there who would divide us and use this as an opportunity to sow division, but also there's a lot of misinformation as well. And so I would just encourage people to really vet the information that you get. I realize there's a lot of conspiracy theories and that sort of thing going on. Really go to productive, reputable news sources to get your information, and don't just believe everything that you see online.
Yeah.